Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film, and we're juggling all along here on my Hayao Miyazaki series, and we're going to be tackling Castle in the Sky. And for those that don't know, we have three segments on the show, but I have special guests here because we have a convening of the SPDM crew. So
Hey,
all of us have met through Sith Pop, and now three of us report to our fearless leader,
hey,
Mike
hey,
Hilty.
hey.
General,
It's your show. Like, what is
General
going
Hilty.
on?
General.
But joining me are probably my most frequent collaborators, the three people on the show right now, maybe except for my wife. We got Adam, we got Luke, and we got Mike. Thank you all so much for coming on.
G'day. Anytime. Howdy.
Hello.
I don't think I've
Hello.
ever said g'day on one of your shows, Shane. G'day. G'day, mate.
Which I know at least three of us convene every month for our
Hmm.
Cinematic Wasteland show, which is part of the SPDM Crew podcasting network.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Mike, how much of a percentage of the content on SPDM Crew is created by the four of us?
Like 90% of
Yeah.
it. So,
No.
I mean,
You all are
Oh, well,
welcome.
Shane. Yeah, but of that 90%, Shane does 90% of that 90%, though, too,
yeah.
right? Yeah, Shane is like 80% of experience.
Hold on, wait a second, wait a second. I hold my
Has
own. I
multiple shows.
I, I have multiple
That is true.
shows
That is
on
true.
on the network. Adam's about to have multiple shows. Luke
Mm.
contributes to like four other shows. So, yeah, I would say
I
about
feel like
90% of the content comes from this group.
depending on the
Wow.
guest, I think Luke's one show every 2 weeks might be longer than all five of mine combined.
Yes. Yes.
That
If you put it
is
that
Luke,
way.
Luke's is a slog sometimes. I know, I'm sorry. No, I'm
The
just
most
joking,
recent
man.
one, as we're recording, was a very lean episode, actually.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But,
A
there's a
paisan, if will, from South Philly.
There is
So
a that you know there is a one that's 3 hours 20 minutes coming like in a couple of weeks or months. So Oh,
Mm.
wow. hey, yeah, brace yourself.
good Lord.
I
and this
know.
is why I listen to all
Mike's just going, I'm
podcasts on
editing that.
double speed.
Oh no, he edits his own,
Oh,
so I
okay.
should
Right.
so it's all
Oh,
good.
it's a wonder. So I'm
There you go.
officially the laziest in this group, and I'm a title. It's a title I'm willing to just carry forth. That's
No,
To be
great.
fair, I
Shane
don't edit mine either.
Shane
So
No,
Shane
no,
doesn't
but
have
you do 700 shows. I do two and a half, maybe.
well
So I'm the
that's
laziest.
no. That is
to
not
be
true at all.
honest, unless like things go astronomically bad, I just let them be because it's like, well, this is what happened. This is a record. Uh,
Yeah.
and to be honest, one of my shows is an average of 10 minutes.
Mhm.
So, like,
Yeah,
what am I editing out at that point? So, but
accurate.
for this show here on YouTube, which we're on, actually, I do want to state this. This is episode 229 of
Mhm.
Wow,
Welcome to the Wasteland, which is wild to me.
Yep. more
And
than
half
4 years.
of those
Yeah.
were John Ford.
Yeah,
So
that
just kidding. Math actual actual math wise, it's close. It's a little over a third. Um,
mhm.
which is wild, to be
That's
honest.
crazy. Yeah.
This Miyazaki series won't last long, but it will be a delight.
Mhm.
But for those who haven't tuned in before, the three segments we have coming attractions, which this is June 20th, so the obligatory Pixar weekend. As basically every single year, a Pixar movie comes out this weekend, just in time for my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Ethan. He's 35, for June 19th. And
I
then
bet
we
he's
have our
happy you're
feature.
saying all that.
Huh?
I bet he's happy you've said all that.
it's it's what brothers do, though.
He's still older than me and grayer.
Mhm.
Um, so and our feature film, Castle in the Sky, or La Puta, Castle in the Sky, depending
Yep.
on where you found this movie and what title they slapped on your Blu-ray or
Hmm.
wherever you
Mine
watch
says
this.
Laputa, which I
Mhm.
which I thought it was Laputa
Laputa.
until I watched it. It was like Laputa.
Mm.
Well, It is Japanese, so I guess it is Lapida, which
Hmm.
so there you go. And then we have some recommendations to send you all home with. And let's get started. So, yes, there is a Pixar movie coming out this weekend, Elio, but we're adults here and we want to get the shit scared out of us. So, we're all going to pick 28 years later. So, let's go around the horn and say why the movie I'm taking my brother to see for his birthday is our most anticipated movie this weekend. So, Adam, why are you excited about 28 years later?
Man, it's Danny Boyle back in this franchise, and I'm a fan of zombie movies. Actually, rewatched the first two just the other day, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what more to add to that. It's well, Alex Garland also back at the helm,
Yeah.
so you know that's got to be pretty decent, right? Has to be. I don't like to go in with expectations, but I'm gonna. It's hard not to.
Hmm.
And if you haven't saw 28 Weeks Later, you will know that Robert Carlyle's character wins Best Husband and Father of the Year. Um, Luke,
Oh.
why are you excited about 28 years later?
Pretty much everything what Adam said, copy and paste. What I would also add, I could be persuaded for Pixar. However, last couple of years, Pixar has not delivered as high as as we would like it to be. So that's why I would also, say 28 years later rather than the, new Pixar movie. But I would be tempted to check them out both if the, early reviews are very positive because obviously we want them to succeed, but lately Pixar is like, nah, probably not.
Well,
But yeah, no,
with their original stuff in
yeah, with the
particular.
origin, yeah, and it's just now it's like, oh, we're making sequels to everything, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
No, but the 28 years
Mm.
later specifically, I didn't know I needed it until I saw the trailer, and the
Hmm.
trailer just like gave me so much. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I do need it. So yeah, we just bring it on. Let's go.
That's good to know. I knew nothing
Yep.
about the trailer.
How about you, Mike?
I mean, uh, Adam and Luke kind of hit it on the head. Is that it's Danny Boyle, Alex Garland. So looking forward to that. I'm wondering what they're going to do from a legacy sequel standpoint, because it's been a long time since we've revisited this franchise. So, what possibly could
28
they add?
years.
Yeah, exactly, 28 years. So the symmetry is really cool. And then just who they've assembled as kind of your core cast as well. Uh, Aaron Taylor Johnson, fresh off of his massive hit Craven the Hunter,
Yes.
Ray Fiennes and Jodie Comer. Those are three performers that I really enjoy, so I'm looking forward to having them all together and fighting zombies and
So,
probably each other.
I'm
which
glad you
I would like
mentioned the
to,
cast.
Mhm.
yeah,
Hmm.
reinforce the Danny Boyle Alex Garland combo
Yeah.
again, which was very fruitful before Alex Garland went off and did his own thing. So I'm very excited about that aspect. I want to know what Ray Fiennes has been through.
Uh,
Because
Mm.
like his character being like this dirty gun wielding guy and like you just see him in a maze of skulls and you're just
ooh,
I
you've
need to
been through
know,
something, haven't you?
I need to know now. But yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer. The fact that this is actually going to be a trilogy
Hmm.
and
Mm.
like dealing with cults
Hmm.
popping up in the zombie apocalypse too. I'm like, it has cults and zombies. Like, come down.
Cool.
And yes, that trailer is terrifying. That teaser trailer would have that Yudyard Kipling poem being read in like very like slowly becoming more aggressive, and I'm just like, I am so anxious right now. This is intense and this is terrifying me.
Mhm.
So, and they also promised us Killian Murphy in the second one. So
Mm.
we'll have to see about that. It's what is that? Nia DaCosta is doing the second one, if I'm not mistaken, and it's
Yeah.
coming out in January, so
Hmm.
it's already made.
Oh wow.
already in the
That fills
can.
that fills me with so much confidence that the movie is coming out in January.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, Luke,
Oh.
it's just far enough away
Mhm,
to like be spaced out because, if this were like 15, 20 years ago, it'd probably come out further away. But
mhm.
unfortunately, 28 years later, it'll be on VOD on a streaming service within like 40 days.
Yes.
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Mhm,
But yes, there's a lot of things to be excited about.
mhm.
One thing I want to point out, Elio is going to be my first time taking my nephews to go see a movie. And if
Very
Have
people
neat.
couldn't tell, I love movies and they mean a lot to me. So
So
getting to take them to a movie makes me very happy.
have fun with
it's
that. That is a lot of fun. Just a word of caution. Just how old are your nephews again?
One's going to be 7 very soon, one's 8.
Okay. Well, yeah, just
See, I didn't
have fun
have
with
all the like they were really little kids.
it. Hmm.
Mhm.
So but
it's a canon event for them. So yeah, make it
I
special.
guess technically, which my brother's not going to be happy I'm going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Hmm.
Um, Technically, I did go to the movies with my nephew Joseph, he's 8, going to be 9 in December, because brought, my brother dragged his wife and my nephew along to go see John Wick Chapter 2 when he
So,
was an infant. And then my sister-in-law had to take the baby out within the first scene because how loud John Wick driving those cars was at the beginning of that
That's
movie.
funny. Sorry, that's crazy
Because
funny.
Ethan didn't want to miss out on seeing John Wick Chapter 2 with me. I'm like, you're a father now. You need to make responsible decisions.
see, as a story, it's so funny. But if he was in my theater, like if I see an
I would
adult bringing an infant
hate
into John Wick
hate
screening, I'd
that.
be like, I hate you.
What's
That's why
crazy
I'm
is he
laughing
didn't
so hard.
scream at
That's
all.
just
They
insane.
realized very quickly this was a really loud movie and probably shouldn't have a
Uh,
baby in there. It does bring me Dune Part 1 flashbacks of when there's 2 separate babies in
ah,
Oh
my
no.
screening, and a shrill 15-year-old boy screaming at said infants.
mhm.
It's
Oh,
like, you're not helping.
Yeah.
So,
ouch.
public service announcement, don't bring infants to movies, especially John Wick.
Well,
I'm really
oh,
hoping that there are no infants or babies at the ballerina that I'm about to see this morning. So
mm,
there you go,
yeah.
as we're recording. But let's get into our feature film here. Castle in the Sky. I have background. So this film came out in 1986. It had an $8 million budget, which was pretty big for an anime at the time. Earned $157 million at the
Wow.
box office as of 2021. It was not a success financially initially when it came out. But, if you've ever been to a movie theater, at least in the United States, Ghibli Fest is every year. And they
Mhm,
re-release these every year.
mhm.
That's
So,
awesome.
I didn't know that.
which there was one
Yeah.
year I was gonna go see all 12 and made it halfway through the year, and then my transmission went out in my car. I'm like, well, I need to spend less money.
Mhm.
Uh so and then I stopped. I did not see Castle in the Sky there though. Isao Takahata produced the film, very close collaborator with Miyazaki at this point, especially. This was the first film animated by Studio Ghibli, inspired by a trip to Wales and the aftermath of the 1984-1985 coal miner strike. So that's why we have like a coal mining town in the film. Lapida represents the relationship between humanity, nature, and technology, which I am sure we'll get into, highlights the honest and goodness of children.
Mhm.
So, love childhood. Influenced by steampunk and retrofuturism. I am a big steampunk fan, and you could definitely see those kinds of vibes. There are 2 dubs of this film, the original made by Streamline Pictures, and then, of course, Disney, which did that whole entire series of dubs. Fuji Noboru Award at the Mainichi Film Awards and the Anime Grand Prix from Animage Awards. So this won like some pretty significant awards in the world of Japanese animation at the time. Miyazaki wanted to make an old-fashioned adventure that was a pleasure to watch. So like wanted to be able to have the whole family enjoy this. This isn't like Princess Mononoke and you see limbs flying
Yeah.
within the first scene of the movie. And then Miyazaki thought of the film's ideas while in elementary school.
Mm.
So like was something that he had in mind for a very long time. Can you just like casually imagine just like in elementary school, I'm like, I'm gonna be a director someday and I'm gonna make this cool movie. And then you just casually grow up to be Hayao Miyazaki. So there you go. But there's some background that I have on this film. But going to our synopsis here, Pazu's life changes when he meets Shita, a girl whom pirates are chasing for her crystal amulet, which has the potential to locate Lapida, a legendary castle floating in the sky. Well, I do love movies that have titles that are very self-explanatory.
Mm.
So yes, this movie is indeed about two children trying and pirates trying to find a castle floating in the sky.
Mhm.
So if you couldn't figure out that one. So as we go around and give our general thoughts, just throw out your experience with the film. Was this your first time watching it? Have you watched this before? And which version did you watch? Did you
Mm.
watch the sub or the dub? Or I guess one of the two dubs. I guess that's important to point out. But going around the horn here, so Adam, what's your history with Castle in the Sky? What version did you watch? What are your general thoughts?
Uh, this was my second watch. I watched the dubbed version, but also with subtitles on. But the subtitles are translated from the Japanese version, so you actually kind of watch two movies at the same time. So you actually get it's a really great way to watch Ghibli movies because you get two different stories in a way, or two different sides. It's actually really cool to see the movie that way. My general thoughts is this is the type of movie that um, made me fall in love with movies in the first place growing up in the 80s. So this has that type of children on adventure
Mm.
type of story. It's magical, it's whimsical. Actually reminds me a lot of movies like, and oddly enough, The Goonies and Stand By Me. Just kids going on an adventure and being chased and but the good thing with this is that the animation just has this such a vibe, such a tone. I'm going to be probably stealing a lot of stuff that everyone else wants to talk about, but this is just an incredible vibe. Joe Hisashi's score. Joe Hisashi is one of the most underrated composers of all time. If there's anyone equivalent to John Williams, in my opinion, it's Joe Hisashi. And I actually play his music a lot while I'm working, and I don't know what I'm listening to. But rewatching this and listening to some of this score, I actually kind of found that this is actually the score I'm always attracted to most when I listen to his album or albums, and it's like a mix of all of his movies. But these were the tracks that stand out to me from this movie in particular. So, yeah, just it has everything going for it, and I think further watching, if I had to watch this when I was 10, I mean, it would have been the world for me. Like, I would have just been my whole personality for a good 5 years, I reckon.
There you go. Which to point out, Joe Hisashi has scored like tons of Miyazaki films. So
Mm,
if you're like, it's a vibe, it's a Joe Hisashi vibe.
mm.
Um, but Luke, what are your experiences with the film and what are your general thoughts?
So this is my first watch, and I watched. So I've only watched movies with subtitles. So I've never seen, and I heard many great things about the dubs. The dubbing of especially Ghibli movies.
Mhm.
But I just cannot do dubbing. Like I would rather have the original voice actors, and I don't mind reading the movie. So yeah, that's how I watched it on Netflix because yeah, that's how I watched it. And yeah, so it first time, and I really really like very close to like fully loving it. For a first hour, like this might be the most accessible Ghibli movie I've seen yet. Like the most like kind of quote unquote straightforward one. And for the first hour, I had a not a problem with that, but that almost took me out. I'm like, because like I'm used to the later part of Ghibli
Was
and
it
Hayao
not
Miyazaki,
weird
where
enough for you,
there's like
Luke?
layers upon layers of,
Yeah.
hey, this character is going through grief. This is an actual symbolism for this and this and do. And this is just a pure kids adventure with pirates. And
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
moment I learned that, and the moment I'm like, yeah, this is just a vibe kids movie with pirates, and it's hard not to fall in love with Pazu and Sheeta and their connection, that bond. It's so pure. Like
Mhm.
it's the kids' love, like but in the purest form. I don't think I've seen it shown on a screen, maybe ever. Like between a boy and a girl, where you can tell they love each other, they protect each other, but in a kid's way. It's so innocent, it's so pure. And I thought this
Yeah.
is just such a great movie. And so I think on a second watch, it's gonna play even better.
Mhm.
Mike?
First time watching, watched the dub version on Max because most of Studio Ghibli's movies are on Max. I really liked it. The animation was still really great. Shane, you mentioned the steampunk
Mm.
aspects of this, where it feels very retro, but it also feels very futuristic as well. So just the world that they built is really great. Um, Fully agree with Luke. The characters, particularly your two main characters, there's just something so pure about them that I really enjoyed. And then even even at the very end, because Shane, you mentioned that Miyazaki has a very big penchant for, talking about the power of the power of the innocence of children, and
Mhm.
that's very much highlighted at the end, where you know. You've got this choice where what are we going to do with the power of this crystal? Are we going to, are we going to destroy humanity, or are we going to try to save them? And that was something that I was like, oh, wasn't quite expecting that, um but it played for me. I really enjoyed that aspect of that, because um only a child would look at the world and be like, yep, they're worth saving, because as adults it's very easy to, from everything that we've learned, everything that we've experienced, everything that we've read, be like, yep, humanity sucks. So go ahead, do what you
They're
got to
not
do.
jaded yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
there is kind of something powerful about that a child still looks at the world and thinks that, oh, this is the greatest place ever. And
hmm hmm
so there was something that really spoke to me about that.
Well, to be honest, their world's probably cooler than ours. Um,
Probably.
welcome to
That helps.
Planet Earth
I like that,
2025.
Mike. That's the best line delivery I've ever heard. Probably. That's
So,
great.
my background with this movie, this is, I think, the third time that I've watched this. I was at a friend's house watching this. So we did watch this on Max. So I did listen to the Disney dub, but I do have this
Ooh.
collection
Ooh,
Cool.
which has how many here?
Mate, you're going to make me bring
Yes.
out my Miyazaki collection. Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
go
Do
You
it,
ahead.
do
want
it, do it.
it?
I'll be back.
This
Keep on talking.
That's what
this
the Terminator
has
said too.
this has 22 films on it. It's not a great set. I don't love the actual quality of like the discs and stuff,
Mm.
but it did have 22 movies in it, so I bought it. But I this film is so wondrous. It's so
Hmm.
charming. It doesn't quite hit as deeply as a lot of his other films for me because like it's more of like a fun time. But it here's the thing. Miyazaki not going full throttle is still better than like 99% of other
Yep.
um films going 100% really diving into this. And I think this was a nice beginning of a stretch of films with like Kiki and Totoro. that really just hit that innocence of children kind of experience, where it didn't, you know, like I mentioned before, this isn't Princess Mononoke. It isn't ultra violent and have limbs flying and stuff like that. And even like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, the one that I did before this, like there's a lot of violence in
Mhm.
that, and death, and giant beam men, and
Mhm.
giant giant worms and shit.
Oh,
Because it's like Dune. Um, like
Mhm.
this, I think it's really charming. Like this drops you in the action. Like
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
they're,
it
they're
just starts.
mm,
pirates. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
like
yeah,
right off the bat, and you're like dropped into this action. You're just like, what's going on here?
yeah.
And it's thrilling, it's exciting, and there's like, oh my god, this girl fell off. And then like from the moment you meet Pazu, and you just see Sheeta just casually floating down from the sky, I'm like, well, this is interesting. And really kind of
Mm,
like set some intrigue. And you have that whole first act in like the mining town and stuff like that, chases, fisticuff fights, and grown men expanding their chests, ripping through their clothes,
Oh yeah.
to show who is superior. Obviously the one that looks like they're Italian, and their big hairy chests won the day. I'm not biased at all.
No.
But this goes to some fantastical places, and the actual castle in the sky is like a really cool design.
Mhm.
And
mm,
I love
yeah.
their robot that they meet.
Can
Um,
can we talk about that robot, how
yep,
influential it has been on following
yes.
cinema? Because Luc Besson 100% stole those for The Fifth Element at that opening scene where it's like, Aziz, more light. And then the other guy's like, are you German? It's those robots, right?
Mhm.
They're the
I immediately
robots.
thought of Iron Giant. Like the design, gave
And
me the
Iron Giant,
big
yeah,
Iron Giant. I was like, oh, is
yeah.
this where was it Brad Bird?
Brad
Brad
Bird.
Bird, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Is
yeah.
is that where he took inspiration from? Like a
Well,
big,
Well,
that's what
and
I mean, how
Jess
influential
immediately
they
is like
are.
the wild robot,
Mhm, mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah,
which that
yeah.
one, like actual design wise, is really close to like the shape
Yep.
and everything of what this robot looks like. And like I just love like the world building, like the spacecrafts,
Mm,
this
mm.
floating castle with like
Mhm.
the levitation rings around it, basically. I'm like, Yu-Gi-Oh definitely ripped that off for the um Castle of Dark Illusions. Um
Mm.
and I love their like ships,
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
the flying
ornithopters.
ships with like the
Yeah.
dragonfly wings. It's just
Mm.
it's
Which
so
Dune ripped
creative.
off. Denis Villeneuve ripped them off, right? For the ornithopters. Like it's a really influential film.
Well,
Mm.
and that's interesting because Miyazaki was heavily influenced by Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah.
and because I talked about that on my Nausicaa episode, was like that was heavily influenced by Earthsea, Dune, and Lord of the
Mm.
Rings. And
Hmm.
like Miyazaki's a nerd. Um, and
Yeah.
just pulling upon all these things. I would like to just mention the English dub, the Disney
Mhm.
dub.
Yes.
James Vanderbeek
Yeah.
is
Def.
He's good, right?
Katsu. Is
Yeah.
he
And
sounds so
Coruscant.
funny. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like what this was like 97 they did the dub here. So like when
Yeah.
did Dawson's Creek
I
start?
2000?
He was still, they would have still been making Dawson's Creek.
It was a little earlier than that
Okay.
because I was
Yeah.
in
So this
middle.
was
I
pre
was in,
Dawson Creek James
yeah,
Vanderbeek.
Yeah,
I
this
was
was
in,
peak Vanderbeek.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I won't say what James Vanderbeek's nickname is that my wife calls him because of a reference to something else that
Oh,
replaces the beak with a word that Adam's probably pretty familiar with, but that would get us in trouble here in the United States. Uh, so but like it has Anna
why?
Paquin, the
Why?
C word.
Yeah. I'm in two minds about Anna Paquin's performance, to be honest, because a lot of her New Zealand accent comes out in this, and
Should have just
it's very
make her Kiwi.
inconsistent. Yeah,
Should have just
yeah,
went for it.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, it
That's my
was
thing.
just
We're in
inconsistent.
a global world here. This is a fantasy world. Like, who cares
Yeah,
if she it's an
Yeah.
accent or not.
Mhm.
Cloris Leachman, love Cloris
Cloris
Leachman.
Cloris
Leachman is
Leachman, yeah.
amazing. She's
Um,
so good.
every time Cloris Leachman pops up in anything, brings up The Office and that like movie that she's in with Jack Black,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
like that
yes.
in series movie where she like goes up the stairs on her little chair and he's just like, no.
No.
And of
Is that
course,
Goldface or whatever?
I
That movie?
don't remember the name of
Oh,
it, but
sorry, I don't
like,
know.
you have like Mark Hamill and Jim Cummings, who obviously are pretty big staples in voice uh performances and stuff like that. But no, this, I guess, are there any particular things that stick out to all of you that would be negatives about this
Mm.
film? And maybe like, is this anybody's favorite Miyazaki movie?
Nope.
No,
No.
no.
What
But
keeps
but
it from
one
being there?
I'm guessing for
how's
me. Oh, on you go.
Hmm. No, no. You guys were talking earlier about steampunk, and then my whole mind, my end, the whole time I was thinking, if you think this is steampunk, wait till you get to Howl's Moving Castle, and that is my favorite Miyazaki film, and
Yes.
that is very steampunk. Like,
Yes.
and that's what's keeping this from being probably my favorite, to be honest. I mean, I've only seen most of these movies once,
Hmm.
so
Mhm.
I mean, after the first watch of everything was Moving Castle, I've getting through the second watch of most of them, over time. But
Who
Moving
would win
Castle
in
is
a
still up there.
fight? The Castle in the Sky or Howl's Moving Castle?
How's Moon
Hell's
Castle?
Moving Castle,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah. Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
how
cheat
is this
code.
floating, Luke? This
Is
had to
that
have
Cloris
some.
Leachman? Is Cloris
Science.
Leachman in that again?
I haven't watched that one in a while, so I don't remember off the top of my head. Honestly, I just remember that Christian Bale's in it
Mm.
as
And
Hal.
Billy
So like,
Crystal. I always remember Billy Crystal.
but I feel like for me, why this isn't like one of my favorites, really, it's like I think it just there's so many of his films that really have this depth to them.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
like this has really nice, meaningful themes, but like it just doesn't have that like next step
Mm,
kind of thing. But like being said, like if this was any other person's movie,
Mhm.
this would be
mm,
like their best movie.
It's
And it's one of those kinds of things like Miyazaki's just on a whole different level when it comes to animation. And
yeah.
this man was like aggressively like had his fingers on everything
Mhm.
mhm.
in the
It's
productions of these and extremely perfectionist, just
mhm.
Mhm.
being like, this
Mm,
is gonna be perfect.
you can
Um,
see it.
yep,
In those fisticuff
animation's
scenes
great.
alone, like they take a long time to animate like 1 second cell. Like it's insane.
Mhm.
Mhm.
See so
Mhm.
much movement in that one cell. It's incredible.
I
No, to your
That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie because it's just this like
Yeah.
old timey like who's more manly?
yeah.
Just like
Mhm.
rip out of your shirts.
No, to your point, Shane, about that filmography and how, like, basically I'm on the same page. It's not fair to this movie, but I'm comparing
Mm,
it to other Miyazaki movies, and you're
mm,
100% right. It doesn't have the quote unquote depth, even though there are some nice themes going on with like nature, science, like, this human being ultimately being destructive, even to each other, and whether it's a good would be a good thing for us to stop like existing altogether, possibly, maybe.
Mhm.
But I was gonna say, like, to your point about the filmography, it's the same, like, like a Nolan argument.
Yeah,
For
I was
even if
just thinking the same thing.
yeah. And the
Christopher Nolan,
Tarantino argument. It's the
yeah, and
same.
Tarantino, like, even they're like lower movies, right? Like for Nolan, something like, I don't know, like Dunkirk, it's still in any other filmography, like director's filmography, that would be there easily the best movie, right? But since it's Nolan, it's his like maybe like a mid to the bottom of his like filmography because it's so stacked. So
Bro,
here is the
you're
same
gonna
problem,
Why
you're
are
gonna fire
we?
me up. Dunkirk is his top in a top three of his films.
I was
but
gonna throw out like I don't know, Insomnia or something where it's just like
Yeah.
Insomnia is a really good movie.
Dunkirk is a
if
literal
somebody else made this
masterpice.
movie, it'd be a
No, but it's the
really
thing. Dunkirk is a masterpiece. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like I wouldn't rate it like any lower. I would rate it very high. But compared to like Inception, Interstellar, Dark Knight, like like even like
Better than
Prestige.
all of those.
I
Not the
see,
Prestige,
not
though.
for me, not for me.
Yeah.
But again, like we can
well.
have that
We can
argument.
have this conversation
Exactly,
once I
exactly.
Different
eventually
show.
have Christopher Nolan. Uh,
Yes.
as,
But
as a subject.
with
But
this one,
the point is, yes.
I really like how this Miyazaki, this is the start of his career with like this kind of like a vibe mood. Because what comes after? My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service. And both of those are for me, especially like Totoro, obviously much deeper, right? Even though
Mm,
it's supposed to
mm,
still like stays the cutesy kind of vibe. But like Kiki, talk about a Kiki Delivery Service, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. And purely off of vibes because that's the world I want to be
mm,
in. That's the world I want to live in. And even if it's not the deepest of movies,
Mhm.
I immediately fell in love with that movie. But I there was something tiny that stopped me from falling in love with this movie. But I feel like what I said before, on a second watch, I feel like it's gonna be I'm gonna be very close to loving this, like fully loving this.
Mhm.
yeah.
Like you can't argue with the animation. Looks
Hmm.
absolutely
Looks
immaculate.
great for an 80s movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing too. This
Yeah.
was made in the these movies are made in the 80s.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
what other animations going on? Like go look at Return of the King from like Rankin Bass and stuff like that and compare these two. Nothing against Rankin Bass. I love you and I have your collection of all of your special holiday specials, but like
Yeah.
it's just not on the same level. And like
Th-
um you have the Miyazaki's like Don Bluth with like Secret of Nim was aroundish the same time. Obviously much darker,
Mhm.
darker. And like think about what the 80s were like for Disney at this point.
Disney got weird in the 80s.
Black Cauldron, Great Mouse Detective. Like it took until a few years after this with The Little Mermaid for them to like really get back on track. Like the 80s animation was Miyazaki land. Like
Yep.
Miyazaki's just like,
mm,
this is my house.
Mhm.
Um, and this is such a gorgeous film. And to your point, Adam, one of the first things you brought up, the music
Hmm.
yeah.
in this movie is
It's
beautiful.
glorious. Yeah.
It just brings so much life to it. I think one of the things like are is Sheeta or Pazu like particularly interesting characters in their own right? Probably not. But like I think they make a nice couple. They're very innocent
Hmm.
and like couple
They're
as in like a
joyful to
wellness.
watch.
Couple of
Mhm.
besties. Couple of
Yeah,
besties.
yeah,
Couple
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
besties.
Completely platonic, which is, I think,
Yes.
a big credit to the film. Like they just found each other. It's almost like a found family type of
Yeah.
film as well,
Mhm.
Yeah.
especially with these pirates. The one thing I
Love
wanted
the
to touch on, but
pirates.
you're talking about Miyazaki's catalog before, is that this is an early film of his, and when he starts at this level and still only gets better, like
Hmm.
we're comparing, it's like comparing apples to apples. Like it's really tough to do. Like we're saying with the Tarantino films, but for the fact that he can whip out something like this early in his career
Hmm.
and still hasn't peaked, where a lot of directors and filmmakers will create their best ideas first off, right? You'll get their best
Hmm.
stuff first and it tapers off.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a rare feat for someone to just keep better and better from such a high
So
level.
not to dilute your point, Adam, but I do want to point out that like his first short film was in the early 70s. He
Yep.
Hmm.
had been making television all through the
Yeah,
70s,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
with like the Lupin series and even like Lupin the
Mm.
Third, which is his first feature film,
Yep.
is like I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with it, but like it's clearly like a
Lower
step
level.
below
Yeah.
a lot of these films, but like, yeah, like he started making like there's genius here from the start. And the fact that
Hmm.
like even just getting into feature filmmaking, this is his like third feature.
Mhm.
That's what I
Hmm.
mean. Like it's early
Like
on.
like 99.99999% of filmmakers would like kill to have this be like their third feature film
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
or like their magnum opus just throw
Hmm.
out there because like that's the thing in context, this is not does not stand out in the same ways that a lot of his other films do, Miyazaki specifically. But this is such a beautiful film. It's whimsical. It has incredible world building, whether it's the mining town or just
Hmm.
the actual titular castle in the sky, which is so cool. I I could just imagine like a whole movie where it's just these two young friends who land on this castle and are just wandering around and just experiencing like what this is. And
Mhm.
Mm.
obviously that's like a part of this film, but like it's so wondrous and really sets the tone for so many fantasy films that come after this. The robot is so great. And like there's some like I'm not saying that they're like truly harrowing imagery and stuff like that, but like just looking at like all those other robots like fused into this tree and stuff like that, like that's like it's it takes a special kind of filmmaker to put imagery on the screen and be like immediately you're like, what happened?
Mhm.
Hmm.
And you're automatically intrigued to
Mhm.
be like, how did
Mm.
we
Mm.
get here? And want to
Mm.
know more. But you don't have to 100% no more for it to really work, but it's like that's a sign of an incredible filmmaker is like even like the little background stuff is going to get you thinking and like you're processing. That's great world building, and that's this film has incredible world building. Pirate community and their whole entire thing is so much fun.
Mhm.
And that's so interesting because like from the beginning you're like villains, look at them attacking these poor rich people. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like in 2025 now, you're just like, yeah,
Yeah, go. You do
go
you,
rich.
man.
You go pirates. You
Mhm.
Free
go
Luigi.
Glen Coco. um, but like, I guess, are there any other things that really stood out to all of you about the film?
I have some, but I would like Mike to go because I feel like Mike hasn't had a chance. I feel bad.
Um, I mean, like all the points that I wanted to bring up or that I wanted to talk about have already been talked about. So for this to be a first for this studio and for it just to continue to get better, it's it gets a little bit of credit for being first because it feels very influential, but it's still very surface level, and it sucks to knock a movie for that, especially it's hindsight at the end of the day because
Yeah.
we know what's to come. If
Hmm.
if you were to watch it in order and be like, whoa, this is really cool, it would probably rank a little bit higher on my list. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I think growing up in the 80s gives me a deeper appreciation for movies like this. And I look at this versus a show like Skeleton Crew, for example, that's trying to borrow from from these vibes. Um, I feel like this did it a lot better than like shows today are still trying to recapture that magic. There's a reason why all of these, like shows like Stranger Things, or they're trying to make all these legacy sequels for all those movies in the 80s because they feel timeless in a way. And I really got that vibe from this. If I had discovered this as a child, kind of like what Adam was talking about, I think I would have loved this, and this would have been like a core memory for me. But
Hmm.
I didn't, and you know that sucks. But I'm just glad I got a chance to watch it.
Hmm.
Do all of you remember what your first Miyazaki film was?
Yeah.
I
Luke,
think it
what
was
was
Spirited
House
it?
Moving
Away.
Castle.
How's Moving Castle? Adam, Luke, what did you say? Spirited Away.
Spirited
Sorry.
Away.
Spirited Away, yeah, same
Hmm.
same for me. Spirited Away.
So, oddly, the first Miyazaki movie that I watched anything for was Princess Mononoke.
Ooh,
Because
Mm.
ooh.
I was hanging out with my neighbors and their dad had it on. And that uh infected boar became a core memory for me. I never forgot that.
Mm,
And like should I have been watching that as a child?
Probably not.
Probably not. But this is also coming from the person who watched The Godfather at 10 years old. So like it wasn't like the first time I watched extreme violence as a child. But like it I feel like Miyazaki's the kind of filmmaker that like he is a core memory for so many people. Like there's something special, and as somebody who is watching all of these in a row and ranking them along the way, at this point it was like it's Lupin and then Nausicaa and now Castle in the Sky. Now like my next couple episodes are like it's Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service. So like those are like some top tier ones. And then nothing against my poor Paisan pig, Porco Rosso, but like one's a little bit of a dip in
Michael
hindsight
Keaton.
after those two.
He's just a chill dude who fights Nazis. Like, what's not
Well,
to
that's the
love?
thing. One thing I do appreciate about Porco Rosso is fighting fascists. And I love watching people fight fascists,
Yes.
especially in 2025. So like that has that going for it. So there you go. But I think this is just a wondrous, beautiful film. And I think if I'm thinking it as like as a future parent, I think that this would be a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To like
100%,
open
yeah.
that door. This probably
Kiki.
like Kiki and
I'd go
Totoro
Kiki
were
next.
probably that's
Yeah.
interesting because like this string of three are like really this is something that I think kids can really appreciate a lot and have a lot to take out of it. So, but those are our thoughts on Castle in the Sky. And yes, I will be continuing my series. I unfortunately, I only have like 9 more episodes of Miyazaki, and then this is over. Because all of his short films, all of them, are only accessible in the Ghibli Museum in Japan because he refuses to commercialize them.
Oh,
So they've never been released.
it's
Um,
admirable.
I hope that they continue his wishes for the sake that this is a master and they should respect his wishes. But someday he will pass away. And will I be a horrible person for hoping that maybe I can see these short films at some point? I guess I'll just have to wait until I go to Japan. If I ever make a trip to Japan, I will be coming back and making a bunch of episodes of the show specifically for the short films. And Jess will probably be on all of them because she'll be the only one there with me who have seen them. But yeah, that's a bucket list is I want to see these short films. Yes, my motivation for going to Japan to watch short films made by Hayao Miyazaki.
Such a shame thing to do.
Not the history, not not the culture. No, just
Same
short
reason why I
films.
go to New York City. It's for movies. And Broadway shows and pizza, I guess.
Hey, if
there
you
you go.
like sheets of paper with, sheets of paper with pizza sauce on them, then that's fine. That's fine.
Shots fired.
I'm from Chicago, man.
Yeah, Chicago's not pizza though, bro.
My
Chicago's
pizza's a
pie.
casserole.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a pie.
oh.
It's like a meat pie in Australia. Luke knows what a meat pie is. He's
Correct.
surely got been
I'm
to
married to
Greece.
someone from New Zealand. I know what a
Well, of
meat pie
course.
is. I've had
Yes,
plenty of
yes,
meat pies.
absolutely.
But yes,
I
Adam,
did not
I live in the UK.
expect nuclear war to be set off during this episode this morning. We'll talk about that later, Mike. Disrespecting my people. So
disrespecting your food, not your people, but okay. I'm
an
really
Italian
disrespecting.
American. It's
I'm
the
really-
same thing.
I'm really disrespecting your paper, if anything, but that's okay.
We're gonna move on to recommendations before I lose my cool. Let's do some recommendations. Adam, what would you like to recommend?
I'd like to recommend Your Friends and Neighbors. They're good people. No, the TV show with John Hamm. On Apple
I don't know
TV
any of
Plus.
mine.
Yeah, I don't know.
My
I don't know
neighbors
any of mine either.
specifically. You're all my friends. Plus others, so
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, John Hamm has his own. Well, he leads Your Friends and Neighbors. Amanda Peet is also in that, along with. Is there someone else famous? No, I don't think there is. It's
No,
only those
no,
two.
I don't think there is.
No, but it's
Oh,
basically
Olivia Munn.
Olivia
That's
Munn, of course, Olivia
that's
Munn.
yeah.
But basically, John Hamm is like a hedge fund guy. Gets sacked unceremoniously and dodgily, and basically uh, becomes a cat burglar in his little gated community, bunch of mega rich friends, and it's just a really good insight into that lifestyle and how they're just as equally fucked up as poor people are,
Mm. I
and
more
or more
so.
fucked up to more so. Yeah, yeah, it's just a different levels of it, when you've got money. So yeah, really, just a really engaging stuff. And John Hamm could, I
John
mean, he can
Hamm
carry
gets it.
anything.
He gets it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love John Hamm. I think he's amazing. So yeah, 100% recommend. It's one of my favorites of the year for sure.
Awesome. Luke.
So I would like to recommend a movie from this year called The Ugly Stepsister, which is now streaming on Shudder, and it's a gruesome spin on a Cinderella story. It's a body horror done to the. If you thought the Substance is a body horror to the 10th, this would be like to the 20th.
Ooh.
It's I loved how it took the classical story of Cinderella we all know and love, and it basically kind of put it and twisted on its head a bit, but at the same time, like it's very hard to talk about this movie without mentioning certain scenes, certain uncomfortable scenes. And so I'll just say this. If you would like to see some fucked up, twisted version of Cinderella, in a Norwegian setting, because I believe this movie is Norwegian. Shane, correct me if I'm wrong. Watch that, but do not watch it if you are A squeamish and B are having a lunch or something. Like maybe that's not a great movie to watch whilst you eat. But I think it's worth watching for many scenes.
Yes, to confirm, it is Norwegian, and also to confirm, um, sometimes when you try to fit your foot in a slipper, you don't just try to squeeze it in.
Hmm.
And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well,
Yes,
in the original fairy tale version of Cinderella,
that's
that's
what
what
she did.
happens. And
Hmm.
like as a father of a young child who loves Cinderella, and then kind of just having that in the back of my head, it's like, oh, Disney, you have watered these down so
I
very
just wrote
much.
an article about that and the
Mm.
Ah.
influence of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Disneyfying fairy tales for a century to come.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So there you go. Um, Mike, what would you like to recommend?
I'm gonna
And is there
recommend.
body mutilation in this one?
Uh, no,
Okay, just
See,
confirming.
no, there is not.
Louis, is it?
I mean, I've got my bluey shirt on right
Oh,
now.
well,
This
that's amazing.
this was the 80s, man.
Calls it.
So I'm
Oh.
recommending a show that just wrapped up on FX called Adults. Um, FX has had a curiously quiet year so far.
Mm.
They haven't had a whole lot come out, but the two things that I've seen of from them that have come out, so Dying for Sex and this, both were solid entries. I really like Adults, mainly because it feels like a modern version of Friends if all of the characters were like super fucked up as well.
mm,
So, but
They were in real
I
life, but yeah.
I enjoy I enjoyed the dynamics of all these characters. They're really a close knit group of friends. Um, yeah, just kind of navigating life and navigating the adventures that they have together. Sneaky fun cameo from Charlie Cox in this, so
Hmm.
Oh,
I definitely did not see that coming, but It
just
was
flashed through. Yeah.
Were they in
yeah.
Philly?
No,
Oh,
they're
sorry, Charlie Day.
yeah.
I'm getting this. It's 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. It's 6 a.m. on a Saturday for Mike. There we go.
It's all
Oh,
good.
so this takes place in New York, and this was Daredevil.
Yes, it was.
Oh, not the
Yeah.
Flash. See, I've screwed it up as well.
Late for Adam. Luke's just like, it's a
It's
normal
like
time of day for me.
It's
it's
12.
Saturday night here, and I've had some pre-show beverages.
Hey.
Babies.
We enjoy spirited conversations here.
Mhm.
So,
I've held it together pretty well.
yeah, I was trying to be funny and sent this off the rails. But yes, so there you go, Mike.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's all.
both your friends and neighbors and adults are on my to watch list.
Oh yeah,
And I have seen The Ugly Stepsister, which
you fully endorse Adam's recommendation for your friends and neighbors. Apple's having a sneaky good year
Oh, mate.
this year. So this
Just
one,
started watching Stick.
oh, Stick. That's very surprised that
Mm.
that's been as good as it's been so far. I hope that it just maintains that
does this
level.
have
Hmm.
new Ted Lasso potential.
Maybe.
No,
No.
not for me yet.
Has
Maybe third
anybody
season Ted
watched
Lasso.
Murder Robot?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Murderbot? Is it Murderbot?
Oh,
Murder.
Murderbot. Yeah.
Sorry.
Alexander Skarsgård is definitely having a fun time.
Yes, he is.
And I'm
Yeah.
having a fun time watching.
Mhm.
Look, it's a robot obsessed with a Star Trek show.
Right.
So, yeah, Apple keeps trying to be like, watch your friends and neighbors every time I go into the app.
Oh,
So,
really?
there
You
you go.
should.
Well,
You should though.
take heed.
It's
Take heed.
it's really good.
I'm gonna go on a
There's
little
still
diatribe real quick, but not too long. Um, I it makes me mad when streaming services drop like 3 episodes to start a show, when it's just like, just give me the pilot and I'll watch this weekly. I don't have the time right now to binge watch these 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So honestly, I
Mm.
choose to treat them like a binge watch show if they try to drop 3 episodes, unless it's like a 30-minute or less show, because then that's only like an hour and a half. But like, I
Yeah.
don't know, it just grinds my gears. Mike and I have had plenty of conversations about releases of television series at this point, and I have strong feelings to say the least. Unless it's a
Fair.
show I really want to watch. Like, I watched Andor despite the fact that they dropped 3 goddamn hours of it for 4 straight weeks.
But
I can't watch it. I can't get through it.
Oh no, you got to power through that because
I have
it's
I
really
love season one, and I just have not been interested. Every time I put it on, I just like I'm on my phone more, and I don't know why. I just can't engage with it.
get get to at least episode 5. If you can get to episode
I've
5
seen
when
that. I've finished episode 6. I've
oh
actually so I've got 6 to go, and I'm just thinking 6 more hours. I don't know.
To be
if I
fair,
can
those
do
are the
it.
best 6.
those are the best
Yeah.
6 unfortunately.
Okay. I'm not. I'll
I'm
get
not
there.
steering you wrong,
I'll
Adam.
get there.
But to be fair, um, I'll be talking about this on Mike's show when we talk about our top shows of the year
Mhm.
Okay.
so far. But like, not gonna lie, that first like Andor season 2, I'm like, I'm enjoying this, but like I'm not loving it. And but like that's the same thing, like the first season too, like you have to get to those mini arcs towards the end that really got me. Those last two really got me
Mhm.
for season 2. But
Mm.
my recommendations, I'll be giving my standard new film, watch list film, and one of my rewatch films of that I own. So new film, I got to see The Life of Chuck.
I hate you. I'm
It
so
took me an
keen.
hour and a half to drive this theater in Philly because goddamn traffic. And it was a nightmare to get there, but then I watched something profound.
Mm.
Mm.
I left that theater just being like, I was engaged every single second. I was intrigued. It's beautiful. Mike Flanagan can do like full blown emotion and not scare the shit out of me first. Because he has scared the shit out of me many a times up to this point in my life. It's just
Yeah.
such a beautiful film, and it's a true ensemble. Because here's the thing, I had no idea what the hell the plot of this movie was. And just don't. Just go into the movie not knowing what this movie's about. And it's so mysterious and intriguing. And there's legitimately a few moments in this film that are some of the most joyous moments I've had watching a movie. Like, I was kind of close to thinking like this might be my number one movie of the year. And then I took a step back and had to think like, well, Sinners. But like
Well,
we between The
I've been
Life of
hearing
Chuck
there's
and
picture
Sinners,
vibes for it though. Like it
I
could
would love
be
to
a
see both The
contender.
Life of Chuck and Sinners get a bunch of Oscar attention because they deserve it. Um, I know technically like Tom Hiddleston's like shown as like the lead in this movie. It's interesting. I'm not gonna say anything about the plot of this movie. I just know that I almost wanted to cry multiple times,
Hmm.
and
Mm.
I just was so moved by this movie, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
officially, I think only Mike Flanagan and Frank Darabont should adapt Stephen King. And look,
Yep.
let one more, Rob Reiner, um, Stand by Me,
Yeah.
Misery. I
Yeah.
could accept
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
too. Those
Yep.
three, nobody else. It's like how I said nobody should adapt Roald Dahl except for Wes Anderson. There's a
Yeah.
trio that should only adapt Stephen King.
Mm.
So loved it to pieces. And I'll be interested to see some of the more cynical movie fans that I know and see what their thoughts are. But like, I know Foster, Rowan, and I have all seen it, and we're all just blown away. And then technically I own this movie, but I hadn't watched it before because it was part of a collection, is The 12 Chairs, which is Mel Brooks's second directorial effort.
Mm.
It's about a a a rabbi, it's about a priest, a former high society gentleman, and a grifter, all trying to search for 12 chairs because one of them has a bunch of jewels in it
Mm.
that are
Uh-huh.
worth a ton of money. And this movie is worth watching, even just plainly because of Dom DeLuise, who plays
Mhm.
this Russian priest, because he is so goddamn funny in this movie. But also,
Such
it
an underrated
has
guy.
Ron Moody from most people would probably know from Oliver. He was Fagin. And that,
Mm.
but Frank Langella in
Mm.
Ah.
1970, he was thin, he had black hair, and I'm like, what the crap?
I
Because I
can't
had never
imagine
seen him
Frank
young
Langella.
before.
Yeah, yeah.
And like he had less bass in his voice. I'm like, what? But like the three of them are so much fun. And also Mel Brooks has a small role in like the first act of the film, and he's just
Of
going like
course.
to the ceiling, acting over the top and everything. It's very Jewish. It takes place in like 1920s Soviet Russia, post Russian Revolution. And it's just so much fun. Like it's not top tier Mel Brooks for me, which I'm not surprised I hadn't seen it before because of that point. But like it's better than Dracula Dead and Loving It. Um so which is not saying much. That movie's like, dude, Mel, you're just using the same jokes that you've done for the last 30 years. But would recommend. And lastly, I recently bought this on Blu-ray and just really wanted to rewatch it when I gave her an option to watch this. Is Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Um, Samuel L. Jackson
Yes.
and and a
Just
shark RKO'd him. Where, like this movie, is it a little too self-serious? Yes,
yes.
but it's so much fun. It's just that level of just like, is this a good movie? No. Did I have a fun time? Yes. But Thomas Jane, LL Cool J as the chef and his parrot. or releases bird. I don't know exactly what kind of bird it is.
Can't
But like
can't forget that epic theme song at the end.
when it started playing, because I completely forgot about that. Fun fact: this was the second R-rated movie I ever watched
Mm.
after Air Force One. So like I
Nice.
watched Deep Blue Sea like years ago. I was like 9 and watched this
People
on
says, wow.
like VHS. But like this movie's wild.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to live in a world where the only way for us to develop Alzheimer's treatment is to make sharks super intelligent. I'm like, why did you have to do this on sharks?
Mhm.
Seems
Why?
counterproductive.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, there are so many different animals. You could have done this testing on why sharks. And that this movie never gave me a good reason why to believe that, but it's not that kind of movie.
Mm.
So, but anyway, Deep Blue Sea. But that is a wrap here on Welcome to the Wasteland. This was a lot of fun pulling the SPDM crew together. So, I would just like to do for this special moment to go around the horn and shamelessly plug all the shows that we have on the SPDM Crew podcasting network that we host. So, real quick, Adam, shameless plug.
Uh, Curbside underscore collection. Oh, no, actually, that's my Instagram page. Curbside Collections is the podcast. just what do they call that? Muscle memory. Yeah,
Um,
Curbside Collections.
Adam's show makes me want to spend all of my money.
Yeah, I tend to do that. People miss you. I actually the shows. As far as I know, Mike knows the numbers. I don't, but I get quite a few DMs and people like telling me what they brought, and yeah, it's
you
weird
should
to
you
think of
should get a
myself as
cut.
an actual. I'm a legit influencer. It's weird to think of, but
You
Nice.
should get a
it's
legit
happening.
cut from all of these
It'd be
physical
nice, right?
media.
I
Mhm.
Yep.
should get myself a little Amazon, what do they call it, like a collaborator or something.
Yeah, we should think
That'd
about
be
it.
Yeah.
good.
And you
Hmm.
have a new show on the horizon.
I
Oh
do have a
yeah.
new show on the horizon. Keep a little bit under wraps, but we will probably ask all of you on to be guests at some point. It's a horror. It's actually about horror films. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. But we're just banking some shows at the moment. Just me and the other guy, Mike. Yeah,
Not
just getting
not
things started.
I was
not
gonna
Not
say
me.
not
no.
that Mike. Another
Not
Mike.
me.
Yeah, there's Mikes everywhere.
Yeah,
I
fair.
keep finding out there's a bunch of Shanes apparently in Australia, thanks to you, Adam.
Oh yeah.
Shane.
So,
Well, what did I do? I don't recall this.
Well, your
well, no,
co-host is
because
Shane.
like I know very few Shanes, and then
Mhm.
apparently there's a ton of
Oh,
them in Australia.
yeah, it's a pretty
Uh,
common name. One of our national heroes, Shane Warne, actually died last year
Mhm.
from a heart attack. You guys know Shane, he's a cricketer. He was a cricketer.
Nope.
Anyway,
this
he was
Shane
like
stands alone. So there you go.
Warney.
I'm one of those
Anyway.
people that like I meet another Shane and I'm like automatically like Highlander. There could only be one. Luke, shameless plug.
Flicks and chill, but nobody DMs me or anything, so I'm not an influencer by any means.
But people want to be on your show, and that's cool.
Some.
Mike, whichever one do you want to plug?
Sure. So I've got family movie nights. I've got Mix CD, Sports Ball, and SPDM TV. Another one kind of coming down the pipe soon about movie theater, your movie theater going experience, and just kind of managing this crazy crew of people, which I'm eternally grateful for to have you be part of this crazy network. So thank you
Yeah.
all.
And I listen to every single one of these shows
Yes,
on double speed. But still, I listen to every single one of these
I
shows.
can't imagine you getting through them without it. But,
there's a lot of
Um,
content on on
and
the
if they
network.
talk
So
real slow, I
mm.
might even venture a little bit faster.
mhm.
But like, um, to shamelessly plug my 5 shows that I have on this network. So I have 3 weekly shows. So I do have the Wasteland Retrospective, which is probably my favorite show of the bunch, which Luke, actually all 3 of you our collaborators. Adam's my special fifth Thursday collaborator for Wasteland Retrospective. But each week, my guests and I pick a film that are related in some shape or form to each other. And, we just talk about the film. And I have the Wasteland watch list, which is my obscene 8,400 movie watch list. And we randomly pick stuff off of it. And all the weird ones happen to be Mike.
Yeah, I get a lot of weird ones, man.
Which is a fun way to give me an excuse to get things off my watch list. And every Friday is the streaming Wasteland, where I give you 3 movies that are presently on streaming services that you should go check out. See, I'm just filling your life with movies. And then monthly, my co-hosts Luke and Adam and I have the Cinematic Wasteland, where we take you through the history of cinema 1 year at a time and pick a film that we talk about that is from that year. And now we're actually talking about the Oscars and that stuff because they exist now. We have made it to the late 1920s. Yes. And then the Wasteland Vintage Roadshow, which that is literally just an excuse for me to talk about my favorite movies and rewatch them. So like I'm going to be rewatching On the Waterfront and talking about that with my buddy Alex for next month because I love that film so much.
Stella. I only watched it for the first time recently.
And it is
I was going to say,
Kazan,
that's not a movie.
Not that one.
What's that one then?
That's Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, that's Streetcar Named Desire. That's what I watched recently.
I could have been.
I actually watched both of them recently.
I could have been a contender.
Yeah,
I was going to do that, but I thought that's not the right film, so I was just screwed right up.
You should have went with your gut, Adam. But also, I'd like to point out, obviously, Luke's isn't one that really is conducive to repeat offenders, unless you start making other questions too. But I had such a blast on Luke's show. And yes, Adam makes me want to spend all of my money on physical media. And I had such a blast on mixtape, like the mix CD, doing my roller derby disco, which I will still occasionally just throw that Spotify playlist on and disco my way through my day and having a blast. So, Mike, thank you so much for having all of us be a part of your network. And thank all of you for coming on today and talking about Castle in the Sky. But most importantly, thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.